So yes, I always have resale in mind when we're decorating our house.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to be married to a real estate agent because you are always thinking resale, and sometimes I just want to have Joanna Gaines farmhouse things.
There are some Joanna Gaines farmhouse things that can be done that help resale, but there are also things that a lot of people do to truly personalize their house for their what benefits them, and it sometimes it doesn't serve well when you look to try to sell your house. When you're selling your house, you're trying to market to the masses, the most amount of people. I think that's a general rule in anything that you're trying to sell. And if you have very specific personalized things, it just narrows your pool of buyers that would be interested in your house.
Yeah, one of my favorite Instagram like creators. I mean, she's like a house decorator. She's had her house in magazines and all of that stuff, and I love her house. I would never like put that in my own house because her style is very different than mine. It's very like colorful and color drenched. That's the new like trend where everything is, all the same color or whatever. But she's actually about to sell her home, and so she is talking like to her audience about how her real estate agent is like, yeah, you have to get rid of a lot of this because although it is beautiful and it's been in magazines, like there's really not a lot of people who want a mauve dining room.
That's right.
I would not want a mauve dining room. Um, but it makes me think of like some of the houses that you have sold in the past where I mean like you did have one that was in like what was it, like
HGTV.
HGTV house, and it had this like amazing accent wall. But yeah, you had a very specific person who came in and liked that, where it doesn't cater to the masses like you're saying, but it's still super annoying when it's our house. Like everything is, well, blah blah blah, resale. And I'm always like, we're gonna live here for like 10 more years. It doesn't
Yes.
matter, but
I don't like doing things twice or nor paying for things twice.
yeah.
And that is part of my reasoning because I know if we do something that will not suit us well for resale, that it's going to have to be redone.
Yeah.
And it's not you that's doing it, it's me.
I get it. I just said it was annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember showing houses before, and I mean, I remember showing it was a starter entry level home. The person that lived there must have bought the house well below their means because it was decorated beautifully. Um, and had a lot of high end stuff in it, pictures and decorations and stuff like that. And I do remember my client loving the house. And they're like, oh, this is great. And I reminded them or just kind of pointed out to them, like, hey, when you buy the house, all this nice decorations, all these nice decorations, all these pictures, all that is not going to be here.
Yeah.
And so, you really need to pay attention to the floor plan itself, the layout, the condition of the property. And they ended up not buying it, which I'm kind of glad because I do think the appeal to them initially was that emotion of walking into this beautifully decorated house that was probably should have been, a seven, $800,000 house, decorated the way it was decorated, but it was a, three, $400,000 house, and it was not going to look like it did when they saw it once this person took all their stuff out of it.
Right. But I think that like when you're listing houses and you're telling people, you know, taking all of your, like let's declutter, let's take out your personal, pictures and stuff like that. Because I mean, that was one of my, I think, problems seeing your vision in this house is they just had so much stuff. Like this room, our living room, I was talking about taking out the back staircase to make it usable, and really it's a huge living room, but they just had so much in it that you I could not like I couldn't see your vision at first. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, people like they should take your advice on when listing your house. Like I know it's a pain to like pack up all your, Sally's sweet photo from when she was in preschool, but people need to be able to walk in the house and like envision their self in the space and with their touches. And if your stuff is everywhere, it like takes away from the bones and the like the things we need to look at. Because yeah, that's why we have you.
I remember a more experienced agent when I first started in the business said, people are buying your house, not your family.
Right.
So, or your memories, or I mean, I remember even showing my grandparents' homes, and they did a lot of traveling and they love to travel. And we went in a house, it was actually the house they ended up buying, but the people that lived there traveled and they had, boxes of, I guess, photos or whatever of where they had gone. And they spent 10 or 15 minutes looking at the boxes to see where these people had traveled to. And I'm like, you're not buying these people's memories, you're buying their house.
Yeah.
So let's focus on, the house itself, the structure, the floor plan, does it meet all your needs? It really is irrelevant, where these people travel to, or
That's kind of cute though.
it is. And I always have people, I mean, I think pretty much every single transaction, whether you're the buyer or the seller, you want to know something about the other party,
Hmm.
you know, especially sellers, do they have a family? Are they empty nesters? What stage of life are they in? This and that. And I mean, really, we're not supposed to know nor comment on that. Sellers are not supposed to make a decision based on any of those criteria. But it is always, it's just, I think it's just our human curiosity. We want to know something about the other party that's we're either buying their house or they're buying our house.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody one time about, yeah, like, do you like look at in their cabinets and stuff? And I was like, no. But I did remember the house that we put a contract on that didn't go through like before this house. And they had this like big, like fancy Bible in their dining room. And I did sneak peek to see what it was on. Like, I was like, ooh, where is it at? And I was convinced that the Bible verse was telling us to buy that house. And really, it was probably just God telling me to calm down.
Yeah, yeah.
But even like the yard, like I'm thinking about, I mean, I remember at the closing table, the lady that we bought this house, like she had this massive cherry tree in our front yard, and that was like her
She
prize.
threatened my life
Yeah, she
if I
threatened.
were to have cut that cherry tree down,
Sorry, Jan.
which we did.
We
Uh,
did. We did because we did not love that tree. It was a beautiful tree except for it was only pretty for like 2.5 seconds in the year, and then our children and the dog tracked in all the cherry trees
it
stuff into
was,
the house,
yes, it was everywhere.
and then it was just so like overgrown. It was like damp under there, you remember? So we there were what were those things called that live, the little animals? The moles. There was little moles that was living in the damp stuff when we pulled the tree out, and it went to our neighbor's yard, and he was not excited about it. You don't
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes.
I
When
was
we
like,
started redoing the front yard, all the moles that were in our yard went to his because I was disrupting
environment.
their environment. So they decided to go.
Sorry, Tim.
Uh,
Um, but
yeah,
like we wanted a like open flat front yard because our whole cul-de-sac is full of kids, and now even when our kids aren't home they play soccer and basketball and stuff in our front backyard free of the cherry tree. An added bonus, then I don't have that stuff tracking all over my house.
yes, yeah. People get attached to what they have, and they have memories, and I mean, it's definitely understandable. But yeah, you can't really tell the next person that buys your house what they can and can't do
She
in
definitely
the
did that.
house
I
nor
forgot
or the
about
yard.
that.
Yeah, she definitely threatened my life on if I were to cut down that tree, but I'm still here.
Yeah, I used to send
And the
her
tree's not.
I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she was, would love to see the updates because I guess we talked about that at the table, but I did not send her the yard. I'm sure she's
I
like
think she's seen it.
seen it, but I didn't directly send it to her. Like, we whacked down your prized possession. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, but like back to the what adds value and resale and personalizing your home. There are definitely things that you can do that add value. Um, I have this discussion with people all the time. I mean, kitchens and bathrooms are your biggest value add and the most bang for your buck that you can do. The kitchen is kind of the centerpiece of the home. Most people cook, most people spend a lot of time in their kitchen. So having a really nice updated kitchen really will be the big thing to add value to your property. Bathrooms too, people put a lot of emphasis on bathrooms. It's actually funny showing older homes that were built in the 80s. The primary bathroom is small. It was usually a tub shower combo, a toilet, and a single vanity. And now we have these extravagant bathrooms that have, garden tubs or freestanding tubs and separate showers, double vanities.
Double
It's even,
vanity is a must. I'm not trying to. We would fight a lot if we had to share a sink.
yes, we would. And we even have separate vanities,
And
which
I
you
use
tend to
both of them.
creep on my side
I
of
do.
the separate vanity.
I just don't like to be, confined. I like everything to be spread out.
Yeah. It's actually neat seeing, I think, as trends change, you're seeing builders not building formal dining rooms. They're usually building bigger breakfast areas, and they're giving you the option to eliminate the tub in the master
I
for the
I don't
primary.
understand this trend because I love a good soaking in the tub moment.
I know I joke how with people when I talked about that, how you will even just get in the bath just to warm up when you're cold.
I don't feel like that's an abnormal thing. Like if it's cold and I mean it's the quickest way.
Yeah. We have blankets and a heater.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes my feet are just cold and I need to be warmed up like internally. I don't think it's weird. We're gonna have to poll the people to see if other people get in the bath to warm
To warm up.
up.
Normally, when I'm talking to people, most people say they don't use a bathtub. I have had
What?
one or two people that have said that they will get in the bath or use the bath to warm up, but it seems to be the minority for sure.
The princesses of the world.
That's right.
I don't understand the dining room either. We use our dining room a lot.
A lot of times you get a bigger breakfast area that you can put, an 8-person plus table in. So I mean, you have the
We have
space.
this space.
So instead of having two separate eating areas, you have one large eating area,
Yeah.
which I think makes a lot of sense. I know that I mean, we definitely use our breakfast area a lot more than our dining room. So
Yeah,
if
for
we had
sure.
a just one large eating area, I don't think we would miss our dining room.
No. I mean even yeah. What is our dining room is 10?
Yes, we can fit
I mean
10.
even if we could get 8 in here, we wouldn't have to go in there as much.
Yeah.
It's just house all my china.
We would just have to find a place for all our china cabinets. That would be the only thing.
Um, I will tell you a trend that I just really don't understand is how come in the 90s we have these formal living rooms that don't have any electric, like they don't have any lighting.
It is a trend. And I try to point that out to people because, a lot of times people are turning those into offices or playrooms for their kids, toy rooms, and they don't have any overhead lighting. They
They're little
usually have
dungeons.
switches or receptacles that run off the switch, so for lamps. And I think that was the trend at that point is you had a formal living room that had lamps and you could turn the switch on and that would control the lamps. I don't know very many people that use a formal living room for a formal living room. Like I say, I think a lot of them get turned into offices or
Hmm.
toy rooms. I do think I've seen some people that will put a separate like a TV in there, and they'll put their PlayStation or Xbox in there, and that way they can watch TV in their den, and then whoever their kids or them can play video games in a different room, and they're not occupying the TV in the main area of the house.
Yeah. That is something that I have noticed in like your listings is I think we're the abnormal family because we have one TV in the whole house.
Yes, that is very abnormal. Most people have multiple TVs, TVs in bedrooms. We chose not to. We got a TV in our den area, and that's it. And
Yeah.
usually we watch whatever you want to watch.
That's not true. We're watching your show right now.
There are many shows that I have not watched because you don't like them.
I know. Sorry. Sorry, but not really.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
um, yeah, because did you have TVs like around your house? We're going off on a tangent. This has
We
nothing to
did,
do with.
yeah. We had TVs in our bedrooms. We had
Yeah.
TV. I remember my mom used to always get irritated because my dad would want to watch TV while we were at dinner. And usually it was like a Braves game or, a
Yeah.
sporting event or something like that was on. So he would want the TV on at dinner. And my mom would say, all right, no TV at dinner tonight. And we would call it silent dinner because there was no TV
That's funny. Yeah,
while we
my
were
dad
watching dinner.
always had there was some kind of sports on, or the news, which who I don't understand that generation of people that like want to listen to all the doom and gloom while you're eating your dinner, but that's what he did. And then yeah, we all had them in the bedrooms.
You know, I remember we even had one like the kitchen. It was a really small TV, but my dad would turn it on every morning as he was, making breakfast or making our lunch to go to school, and he would have the news on, and he'd be watching the news while he was getting everything ready in the kitchen.
I also think we're abnormal in the fact that we don't do that. Like, we don't watch the news regularly. I mean, why do you have to? Because I don't know if your dad does this to you, but my dad, like, I don't have to watch the news because I'm going to get like a bullet point presentation from one of my family members about what's going on in the world every day, even if I don't ask for it. But speaking of my dad, I wanted to, because we were talking about the stuff that brings value. And I remember not very long ago him calling us because they wanted to get a new roof. And he was so excited about that tin roof. And you had to talk him out of it.
Yes, he did. He wanted, your dad likes nice things, and he wanted to buy the nicest roof that he could, which I think is, you know, admirable, but I don't, there was going to be a lot of money spent that was never going to come back to him. Um, it wasn't something that was really going to add value for the amount of money that he was going to spend. I mean, a standard architectural roof shingle will last you 30 plus years. And, I mean, honestly, like at their age, he will never have to replace a roof again.
Right.
So, for him to spend the money to get a 50-year tin roof that was probably going to cost him twice as much as an architectural roof, he would never have gotten that money back. It would have been a great bonus for whoever purchased the home that they, would get a roof that they didn't have to worry about, but it definitely was not going to, they were not going to pay more money for his house because of that.
Yeah. So I
Was,
think that's a common like thing, maybe hit on that like misconception that like if you get a new roof, then you'll get like that back when you sell your house.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bonus, but you're not going to get dollar for dollar for it. I mean, unless you're comparing a house that the roof is leaking and you're immediately going to have to replace the roof the day that you move in compared to a house that has a brand new roof, then yes, there's definitely a little bit more value in there, but it's not going to be a dollar for dollar value. It's the same, like, I mean, we did spray foam insulation in our attic and our basement. Um, we're not going to get the value back out of that for what we paid for it. It was something that I don't know, I wanted to do because I thought it would help keep bugs out, and I mean, it's definitely lowered our utility bills,
For
but
sure.
it's not the amount that it's lowered our utility bills. we're not going to recoup by the time we sell our house. So
Mhm.
it'll be something that, if somebody's looking at our house and they're looking at another house and we've got spray foam insulation and they don't, they may buy our house instead. Um, but they're not going to come in and, give us the several $1,000 difference that we paid for spray foam insulation over, blown in insulation. Um, so there are things like that. But I mean, there are things like I'm working with a client now that he put a decent amount of money into his house. Nothing, no major upgrades were done, but just cosmetic things that you walk into his house and his house looks like a model home.
Mhm. It
I
does, yeah.
mean, the paint is in great shape. The floors are in great shape. It's clean. It's bright. It's open. I mean, it shows just like a brand new construction home. It was built, in the 2014-ish, and the quality or the construction, the upgrades that are in it are from 2014. So, someone will probably come in there at some point and put in some modern upgrades to it.
Mhm.
But I think that that was some money that they needed to spend in order to make their house in the prestige condition,
Yeah.
in tip-top shape. So there definitely are some things like that that you can do, but you know, uh, there are also things that you can do that will set you apart from someone else, but that are not going to get you dollar for dollar back when you sell.
Yeah. Another one that people are always interested in getting is those solar panels because they think that's gonna, well, decrease their, you know, energy consumption, but also I don't think those like value wise, like that doesn't increase it, right?
No, I had a client that called me about that. This was several years ago, and just said like, "Hey, I've got this solar panel, salesman that's telling me that, it's gonna raise the value of my home by, $30,000, which was about what the solar panels were gonna cost, and then then he was gonna reap the benefits of uh, the energy cost that he was gonna save every month." In Georgia, that's not the case. Now, in California, that may be the thing, and that may make a difference when you're selling your house. But here in Georgia, that's really not anything that's going to add any value. Um, the other thing you have to look at is an appraisal. Is an appraiser going to give you value for those
Mhm.
things? Um, and typically the answer is no. I mean, appraisers categorize your house basically between a C1 and a C4. A C1 being a brand new construction home or something that's been basically gutted and remodeled.
Mhm.
And then a C4 is, a home that needs some work and you get valued in between. Most homes end up in a C2 or a C3, and there's just a percentage adjustment for an appraiser. It's not he doesn't go in and say, okay, well, this house has granite countertops and this one doesn't. So this house is worth, $3,500 more than this one because it has granite countertops.
Mm, okay.
He says, okay, this house is a C2, this house is a C3. There's a, 10% adjustment on this property because of the category that it falls in. So,
Exactly. So I guess yeah, like there's a lot of things that people think add value but don't actually have value. So you mentioned the kitchen, like I guess if you're a person that's about to list your house and you're like, "David, like I want to do some things," like what would you tell people to focus on? You said kitchen, bathroom.
yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that people have to do is one, depersonalize the house. Again, we go back to, you're not selling your kids, you're not selling your memories, you're selling the house itself. So depersonalizing the house is one thing that you can do that will help. And then decluttering is another big thing. I mean, we have stuff and everybody has stuff. I I can't quote it, but like Jim Carlin does a great comedy skit on stuff. Like we accumulate stuff and then we pay for storage to store our stuff. And then we go back and look at our stuff that we probably end up throwing away because we haven't used our stuff in, a year or two. But we want to have stuff. So, decluttering. I mean, you're moving anyway. Start packing stuff up.
Mm,
Start packing stuff up that you don't use on a regular basis. Just kind of thin everything out. Again, I mean, the ultimate goal is for your home to look like a model home. I've had clients that, I've gone in and said, like, hey, here's kind of what you need to do to get your home ready to sell. And they kind of do it, but they kind of don't. And then we start looking at houses for them to buy, and they see people that have
mm,
done what I've asked them to do, and they're like, "Oh, this is what my house needs to look like." Um, Go visit a model home. Go see what a model home looks like, and they're very there's not any clutter. Of course, it's nobody's living there, and
right.
you have to have that balance of you live in the home, but you also are making your home a showpiece.
Mhm.
Um, so those are easy things that you can do to help, make your house more sellable, more appealing to buyers. But I think one thing, like the underlying thing to think about is most buyers, unless they're investors, are buying on emotion. How does the house make them feel
Mhm.
when they walk in? And I think that was part of your problem with this house is that you didn't get that warm and fuzzy
No,
feeling.
no, I could not get past the clean it. Like it was actually dusty and gross because they had animals and then yeah, like I said before, there was so much stuff in here that I really yeah, like I could not get past there's not enough room for our stuff, which is wild because this house is large.
Twice as large as the house we
Yeah, the
came
one we were
from.
living in. And then also they had a lot of wallpaper and it was
Mhm.
like, ugh, I just couldn't get back past so I think that's like wise advice because there are a lot of people like me in the world that are going to walk in and be like, I can't, like, I literally can't see past the fact that you have paisley on your bathroom wall. Like,
No. Yeah, so you gotta keep that in mind. Like, what is the feeling that the buyer's gonna feel when they walk into the house? They've got to be able to visualize their stuff in your house. So if you've got so much stuff in the house they can't even see past it, they're not going to be able to visualize their stuff in the house. They've got to visualize, living there. So if they're a family, it's like, oh, this would be a perfect spot for my kids
mhm,
or whatever. I mean, people's different scenarios, but it's like, oh, well, I homeschool my kids, so I can visualize this space being our, homeschool place or whatever that is. Like that's what buyers are doing when they're walking around a house is they're visualizing themselves living there. They're visualizing themselves eating dinner at the, breakfast area or the dinner table and they're visualizing having, friends and family over eating in the formal dining room if that's something that they want. They're visualizing themselves, cooking and making meals for their family in the kitchen. So if they have this, really beautiful, very functional kitchen, then they're like, oh yeah, like this works. Like this is what we need. So, it seems like most people, again, back to the, spend a lot of time in the kitchen. They spend, a lot of the trend now is people want that open, floor plan. They want to be able to be in their kitchen and also be, have their eyes on their kids. Or if they're entertaining, they want to be in the kitchen and be able to still be part of,
their guest, yeah.
the conversation with their guests. So, obviously, if your house is not like that, you're not tearing down walls or anything like that to get it ready to sell, but just giving it that open feeling, yeah, having it clean is a big thing. I mean, if it's dirty, then it's hard to look past that
Mhm.
to, visualize yourself living there.
Thing is,
Uh,
yeah, like showcase those rooms well. Like if you're going to focus, like I mean, if you have kids, luckily we had already moved out of our house when we were selling it, so I didn't have to do that because our dining room in our old house was a toy room.
there was.
Well, really the whole house was
The
a
whole
toy
house
room,
was a toy room.
but that was where it was all supposed to go. that wouldn't, have shown well. And I think of all the things in this house that did not show well, like, the kitchen did because she didn't use it that much, so there was, like, nothing there was nothing in there, so I very easily could be like, "Okay, this is a lot of counter space." I can see, like, I remember going in, like, here's the sink, and it was like, okay, everything was a good placement. Yeah, I mean, you know, pantry, I don't know why they make such small pantries in this neighborhood, but you fixed that for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just all those little things that people think about on the day to day, their day to day living. What is functional? What's easiest? What gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling? So, I mean, redoing hardwood floors, fresh coat of paint. Another thing, a big thing is first impressions. So, what does it look like when they pull up, in the driveway? Is your grass cut? Is it trimmed? Do you have, nice flower beds and, mulch or pine straw? Um, what does it look like when they first pull up? Is it inviting? Does it, give them that wow factor? Nice coat of paint on the front door is another big thing. I mean, those are the first things that people see when they pull up to the front of the house,
Mhm.
before they even get out of their car.
Right.
I mean, I've had a lot of people that we pulled up to houses and they haven't even gone inside because the front of the house, doesn't look well. And they're like, I'm not even interested in looking at the rest of the house.
Yeah.